Hey guys, how are you? Yosef Juarez here. I've recorded a video for you sharing some ideas about Pesach, some halacha, some hashkafa, even a personal story that I hope you enjoy, and all in order to enhance your holiday, and also sharing some words of wisdom that I've learned from my rabbis about how to have the right mindset and the right perspective for the Seder. I want to wish everybody a Hag Kasher B'Sameach, a beautiful, happy Passover. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is that general concept that the Jewish holidays each carry on an energy of the time. For example, as a matter of fact, we make mention of this in the Amidah of every holiday. For Passover, we say it's Zman Cherutenu, it's the time of our freedom. For Shavuot, it's Zman Matan Toratenu, it's a time of the gift of Torah. For Sukkot, we say it's Zman Simchatenu, it's the time of our happiness. So for the Shalosh Regalim, the three times you would go up to the temple in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, each one had its own theme, its own energy, and we know that every holiday carries its own energy. So, what about Passover? What's the energy in Passover? So, as we know, Passover happens in the spring. Zman Cherutenu, the time of our freedom. There's a lot of very interesting things with regard to this time. It's compared to a sprout that has been underground, preparing to break through to the surface. And Pesach is the time when that seed can sprout from being underground to the top. You can see that same type of idea behind the idea that the Jewish people, Hashem made a promise to Abraham about his children. His children were going to be a special nation that Hashem would choose. And all of a sudden, here's a slave nation that's going to come through and break free from Egypt, the place where no slave ever escaped from, the place from the darkest place, Egypt meaning constriction, right? So you have the slave nation that comes out, the potential of that seed, the potential of the seed of Jewish people that was always there, sprouted forward. So we see there's a lot of questions that you can ask on this subject, and hopefully we're going to cover some of them with this idea. For example, the question of merit, right? So what causes the seed to come forward, right? So we know that the Jewish people were in the 49th level of Tumah, in the 49th level of impurity, and really, as they come forward, they were about to drop just to a point where there was a point of no return. And Hashem nevertheless comes and takes them out, picks them up and takes them out right at the last moment. So what you realize here is that Passover, and as we learned from our sages, that Passover, I learned from my Rebbe that Passover is the holiday where you teach emunah to your children. It's the holiday of connection and relationship to Hashem. It's the beginning of the calendar, at least according to one of the calendars. What one new year is in Rosh Hashanah, that is for the individual, the creation of the world, the creation of Adam. But then you have the creation. Nisan is the beginning, is the new year. So to speak, the commercial year, the Jewish year. The years of the kings are counted from Nisan. And really the way you can see it is really the creation of the nation of Israel, the nation of the Jewish people, the nation that would be the Mamlechet Kohanim. And again, the way this happens is not necessarily through a specific merit that they had, but because they had a connection to Hashem, but because through the miracles they were able to choose Hashem, choose to believe, choose to follow the rules that Moshe was telling them, and in doing so, only 1/5 came out. The other 4/5 did not do it. The other 4/5 died in the plagues, The 1/5 that still had a remnants of emunah were the ones who came out, the ones who did not lose hope, the ones who knew that they would be free, the ones who remember the words of the sages, the ones who believed. So it's very important that we don't get lost in this period between the cleaning and the chametz and the laws and the stringencies and everything else, that we don't lose the forest for the trees, that we are able to create an environment that our children should want to be a part, that Passover should be something that's good, in, so to speak, that creates a pleasant environment in the home. Just remember and repeat after me: dust is not chametz. Dust is not chametz. The truth of the matter is that there's an interesting halacha, which is that, like for Passover, you're allowed to be as stringent as you want when it comes to the search of chametz. My Rebbe in Israel was a Talmud of Rav Pinchas Scheinberg Zatzal. He was the Rosh Yeshiva Torah Or in Yerushalayim. He was a Gadol b'Torah, leader of the generation in his time. He created a guide, a Passover cleaning guide. What exactly are you supposed to do? And basically the goal and the purpose of this guide was in order to help women arrive to the Seder in one piece, not like a zombie, not like you just went through a war zone, but relaxed with your children in positive spirits and good energy, so that the Seder doesn't turn into a negative, situation full of tension. The Seder is supposed to be a production, essentially. Again, it's the mitzvah of the Seder night, telling the Haggadah lebincha, that you should tell over the story of Tzipur Yetzias Mitzrayim to your children. The story of Yetzias Mitzrayim to your children. It's for your children. It's not that it's not for you, but it's that it's supposed to reach also your children. We ask the 4 questions. We speak about the different types of children, or to remember that you should include each one of them. In order to remember that we're supposed to be asking questions like children and bringing it down for them. And that can only happen whenever you're arriving to the scene in one piece. You're arriving to the scene not stressed out. I'm going to put a link to the guide right here. And please, the purpose of this is in order to help you. There's no need to go above and beyond at the expense of losing the purpose of the holiday. I just keep being reminded that at the end of the day, when we learn about the curses that will come in Devarim, at the end, what was the reason that these curses would fall upon? Is that you served me, but you served me not besimcha. You served me not with happiness and with a good heart. Your heart was somewhere else. Your heart was in the dust and the chametz. Like, let's just remember, to do that. I can't stress this enough. I'm sorry that I keep going on and on about this, but this is what I see, and it breaks my heart, because really, you're really defeating the whole purpose. The goal is that it should be a positive energy at the time, leading up, and because people they're not machines. If you if you created negative energy all the way up to the Seder, so that's what's going to be at the Seder. It has to be from now. Part of it is just gaining control of yourself and making a decision that it's going to be positive. That if it starts going the other way, that you're going to stop yourself and you're going to recorrect. Okay, I hope I covered enough about that concept. Again, Zman Chirutenu, the time of our freedom, spring, the sprout. We are all that sprout, bringing that into a personal level, right? So this is the time of the, again, our neshamas can connect to the energy of the time. And basically what happens, and the reason that why we have the ability to connect to the time is because time doesn't happen in a linear format. The idea of time is not just us going through a timeline, so to speak, like this. Time is a circle. It goes straight through and in a spiral format. That means that really whenever we're celebrating Pesach again, we're able to tap into the energy of the Jewish people at the time when they were coming out of Egypt. We're able to tap into the energy that created those miracles at that time, and we're able to connect to that and use it to have our own personal geula. It's time of the geula. It's a time of sprouting, the time of revelation, of coming out from unrealized potential to the reality of that potential. So you have to ask yourself the question on a personal level. There's two areas here that are very important. Number one, what is something that I really want? We started talking about a Sulam Aliyah. We started talking about the fact that every Jew has to have a path, that ideal Jew. What do you want to become? Where are you going towards? Right? And that we should create steps in that ladder in order to arrive to that place. So what is it? What is the one thing? What is one thing that is stopping you in your life from reaching that next strand in the ladder? What is the one thing in your life that if you said, you know what, if I could just fix this thing, if I could just get rid of this thing, if I could just move forward with this thing, if I could just get help with this thing, my life is going to be different. I'm going to be in the next level. I'm going to be able to come out and show up in my life in a different way. So this is the time to focus on that, and to realize that you have the potential, you have the ability to connect to that energy, that your neshama can connect to the energy of the geula of Yetziat Mitzrayim, and that you can also have a geula, and you can also have a sea split in front of you and to cross, and you can also be freed from your captivity, from Egypt, from Mitzrayim, from the constriction of your soul. But you can only do that if you know you're in that time, if you know that is a possibility, if you know that you can tap into that energy. It is important that you think about what it is that you want to leap out of. What do you want to pass over? Right? The whole idea that the angel would go and pass over the houses of the Jews and to, the Malach HaMavet that would go and kill the firstborn, and in passing over the houses of the Jews, God was choosing Israel. God was choosing Israel. What that shows us is the following. Passover is the time, Zman Cheiratenu, the time of our freedom, the time where we can go from potential until the fulfillment of that potential, the reality. And the reason that happens is not because you have a special merit, because they were in the 49th level of Tumah. The reason that happens is because there's a relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Because Hashem says, you are my people and I will pass over your houses. And in doing so, in getting rid of your enemies, I am choosing to make you live. But you have to choose to live. You have to choose to believe that miracle can happen in your life. You have to choose to believe that your captivity, that one thing that I'm asking you to think about, that can go away, that you can overcome it. You can't be stuck in the limiting belief that you were born this way, cursed to be this way, that you have to live this way for the rest of your life. You have to tap into the energy of Pesach and really think about it and really dive into Hashem and say, Hashem, this is the time. I want to be freed from this. And what we realize is that the rabbis explain that a person has the ability to leap in an irrational way, to leap in their life up spiritually in an irrational way during the time of Pesach. Just like the Jewish people went from the 49th level of Tumah to the 49th level of Tahara by the time they went Har Sinai. We're going to talk about how this is. The same way, you can leap in your life out of your Mitzrayim, out of your personal constriction. And the way that is, it's with one word, Emunah. The purpose of the Seder, the purpose of telling over a story is Emunah. The reason why grandparents sit and tell stories to their grandchildren about how it used to be is so that they could believe what happened. Can you believe that it used to be like this? Can you believe? It's about transmitting the Masorah. It's about transmitting the tradition. The way that you're going to transmit, it's like an umbilical cord transmission from parents to children. The way Judaism is transferred, this is with the rabbis. We learn from the rabbis that the way Judaism is transferred is in Pesach. the emunah in Hashem. There's a Hashem in the world. And guess what? He's looking after you because you're part of the Jewish people. And this story started a long time ago, and it continues to happen. And there was a point in time when he took us out of Egypt. And guess what? We're still here. We're still here in the Galus. We're still here in the Galut waiting for Mashiach, which means that once again, Hashem is going to come into the picture. Hashem chooses to come into the picture for you. I learned this from Rav Reuven Leuchter. That is the theme of the Haggadah, is the different times that Hashem comes into the picture from you, for you. And the fact that he's going to continue, what we say, Veisha Amda, that when we get to the part in the Haggadah where we talk about like what Hashem has done and how he has destroyed our enemies, and we realize that we are still there, that we still have enemies before us, that we still have anti-Semitism, that we still don't have Mashiach, that we still have the pain of the Galut. That is Passover. Passover is the connection of how we are able to insert ourselves into the timeline of the Jewish history and see ourselves as part, again, we are the protagonist of the story. The problem is that we see ourselves as the spectators and not as the producers. We see ourselves as bystanders and not as people who are actually involved. So I'm telling you that you have the opportunity during this holiday to take your personal constriction and to leap. Don't think about how. Get out of your head. Get out of the fallacy of how. How did they come out of Egypt? It doesn't matter. Hashem saved them with miracles. How are you going to do this? It doesn't matter. You got to believe that you have the ability to leap forward from your constriction. And that is Passover for you. There's no coincidence that as a result, as soon Leil Seder, the first night of the Seder, we begin to count Sfira. What is the purpose of Sfira? We understand that we go through the 49 days leading up to Shavuot. And each one of those days we speak about the Sfirot, the different elements and aspects that make up all of life, really. And really, each day we're supposed to be rectifying one Sfira. But again, what it shows you is that you have the ability to climb out one step at a time. That's another energy. It's a double energy of growth. It's a double energy of freedom. You have Pesach, which is the sprouting of the Jewish people out of Mitzrayim and to become servants of Hashem. But guess what? That only took them half the way, because they went from negative level 49 to 0. But now you had to go from 0 to the 49th level of Tahara to be able to be Socha, to receive the Torah. That requires Sfirat HaOmer, 49 days. Because guess what? There's two ways to grow. One way to grow is from pain, from the pain of slavery. There's so much pain that you have to leave it, no matter what the cost is. The second way to grow is towards a compelling future. Matan Torah was their compelling future, and they worked to build themselves from a positive place, not because they were in pain, but because they had an existing relationship in a framework that allowed them to go forward step by step all the way to the 49th level. That is the energy of this time. We have a double whammy of ability to change our individual Mitzrayim, our individual constrictions, our individual things that are stopping us and blocking us. This is it. This is where you commit. You commit and you make an effort forward, and you see the Geula happen before you. Now, that was just a little bit on the hashkafa, on the philosophy behind the holiday of Passover. Now I'm going to give you some tips. The first one is, again, das is not chametz. I think I spoke a lot about that, and I'm going to put the guide up. Women are supposed to show up to the Seder relaxed. Ideally, take time off. You work very hard. Plan to take time to yourself, ladies, to sleep, to go on a walk, to go grab a cup of coffee by yourself. Guys, you gotta help with this. So that you can recenter, so that you can refocus, so that you can regain yourself. So that, because you are part of the Geula. Women are play a big role in part of the Geula, so they can't be left out. The Seder is for our children, as I mentioned. I think I spoke about some of these things already. If you're gonna have guests, don't entertain your guests and ignore your children. The point of the Seder is lehagadeta lebincha, to tell the story to your children. Your guests should be spectators in the way you tell over the story to your children. That is the goal. That is the entire mitzvah, to tell the story to your children. Therefore, if you have to go faster because they're falling asleep, guess what? You gotta go faster. Which reminds me of the second thing that I want to tell you, which is the fact that there's this attitude of like, oh, well, I went till 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, I went through all these mefarshim and I went through all these different, explanations and different things. That's great and that's fantastic. You can stay as long as you want, but not at the expense of your children. It's not a learning Seder. You're telling the story of Tzipor Yetziat Mizraim to your children. It has to be in a way that's fun, that's engaging, that's funny. That's the reason we're encouraged to ask questions. It's not just like some sort of this interesting law, Ma nishtana. So it's like, why are we doing this way? We do things backwards in order to trip them out so that they can ask questions, because we're supposed to be engaging with them. So again, don't forget your children. And the last thing is, Pesach ends with the splitting of the sea. The splitting of the sea is the ultimate epitome of what I spoke about before, of a slave nation coming out of the worst type of slavery for 210 years in the 49th level of Tumah, almost lost, with almost no faith at all. But the people who are being saved have just a glimpse, a strand of the Emunah, and as a result, they come and they're being pursued by the Mitzrayim, and they're blocked. They have a sea in front of them and the Mitzrayim behind them, and they're trapped, and they start crying to Moses and say, you know what, we're going to die here. Moses looked up to Hashem, what do we do? We're going to die here. Hashem says, why are you looking at me? Walk into the sea. Nachshon ben Aminadab runs into the sea, and he starts walking, and the water hits him, and the sea doesn't split until the water touches his nose, because that's the point where he's going to go under. That's the point where he can't breathe anymore, because it goes to show us that he was being tested with Emunah. The whole entire test was a test of Emunah. But I'm going to tell you the following. I'm going to tell you a personal story about how, if you can, I believed that you can connect to this, and I saw it in my own life. When I was in Israel, I took the leap to start my own business. I had no idea what I was doing. I was losing in every contract. I was working probably for like $5-10 an hour at the end, and it was not even to cover costs. But I knew that I had to do it. All of a sudden, I got this client through a friend that was a decent client. I was able to pay my bills. And before that, I had been working for a company that basically I had a falling out with. One of the managers didn't like me, and he lied about my performance. I worked really hard to put together these reports and this data, and he was so impressed, actually. But he wanted me out, so he told the management that I was underperforming and that I needed to go. A whole investigation happened. At the end, I was exonerated. And the CEO asked me, take any position you want, please don't leave, because I decided that I was going to leave. I said, you know what, it's okay, I can't stay here. And I went and started my own business. So a year after starting my own business, again, the first year was rough. The same company that I quit asked me to become my client. They needed developers. I saw an opportunity here because I was going to have the ability to outsource 3 developers to this company full-time. And I said, this is the opportunity that I have. Option 1, I just keep the money. I'm going to be taxed heavily. I'm going to lose most of it. Option 2, I invest it into a business. I hire people. I help employ Jews in Israel. Dream. Help work with people, which I love to do. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. Pesach was coming. This was right before Pesach. And I remember that in the middle of Passover, I was just in utter turmoil. I didn't know what to do. I was like, what do I do? What do I do to do it, to not to do it? I was drawing numbers on my board, thinking of paying people salary. I remember Tzipora was telling me at the time, like, are you kidding me? Like, we barely pay our own salaries and you're thinking of hiring people. You want the responsibility of paying other people. And I said, you know what? Let's see if we can figure this out. But I remember I was in turmoil. How do you know? What's the right thing to do? Maybe you have something in your life like that you want to do. You don't know, should I do it? Should I not do it? What's the right thing to do? I have a very special connection to Hallel, because Hallel, in the first parak of Hallel, we say, Mikimi me'afar dal, that you lift me up from the dust, and you sat me with the princes of your people, lehoshivi im nevi'im amo. I said, that's me. I have a picture when I was in Honduras, no shirt, no shoes, in the sand. I'm the one who came from the dust. It's me. It's a very special moment. It's a very spiritual moment. It always brings me to tears. And I was thinking, you started this, Hashem. You brought me from the dust. Here I am again, and I need your help. Here I am again. I don't know what to do. I don't have anybody. I don't have Jewish parents. I don't have anybody to advise me. I don't have anybody who will tell me this is the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. All I have is you. That is the relationship that we look to create during Passover. A slave nation that has nobody to protect them. The only one who can save them is Hashem. All I have is you. And I remember I was a wreck during Hallel. I was crying, and I was thinking, please help me. I know I'm not supposed to be sitting there praying, doing personal prayers during a Yom Tov, but I was out of my head. I was just having a connection to Hashem, and I was just crying. I was just telling it, please help me. I don't know what to do. You have to help me do this. You have to help me do this. I don't know what to do. We got to the point where we say, Ana Hashem Oshiana, Ana Hashem Matzlichana. Please make us matzliach, make us successful. And I'm screaming, Ana Hashem Oshiana, Ana Hashem Matzlichana, like a Meshugana. I remember, like, I lost it. I started banging on the table in front of me, and I was like, you gotta help me. I don't have anybody else. Please help me. And then I got scared. I'm like, oh my God, I'm yelling at Hashem. I sat down, and they bring out the Torah. This was Shvi Shel Pesach, the 7th day of Pesach in Israel. And they call me up to the 3rd Aliyah. And I'm not paying too much attention. I'm following along. And it's not like I usually know, I can translate what they're reading up there when you go up there. But I went, and it's a packed room in Israel. Everybody's visiting, and they chose me for the 3rd Aliyah. And the pasuk begins on the 3rd Aliyah. Al titzak elai. Do not cry unto me. Hashem's response to Moshe Rabbeinu when he says, Hashem, the Mitzrayim are following us. The sea is in front of us. What do we do? I don't know what to do. And Hashem says, why are you crying unto me? Go into the sea. Go into the sea. Start walking. Start walking. Don't expect the miracle and then start walking. Start walking, and I'm going to help you. When I heard those words, I felt like a brick slapped me in the face, first of all. I'm like, oh my God. I just got a straight up answer from Hashem. And then I was thankful, and I said, I had all the confidence and all the certainty that I needed to do this. And as a result, it ended up being a success story. I went forward. It was a very scary journey. But it all started with a basic plea and a basic cry for connection for that relationship. During Passover, it's also important to remember your own personal story of redemption. A lot of us, most of us are converts. Bali Tshuva or anybody. We all have our own personal journey, our own personal story of Geula, of how Hashem has saved us, has saved our ancestors, how we got to where we are. Remember, we've gone through cycles of this redemption. You are just the latest version of Hashem coming into the picture for you. And all you have to do is start walking. I'm wishing you lots of love. I'm wishing you lots of happiness. I'm wishing you all the positive energy to connect to this time, to harvest that relationship, to reignite that relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, to be able to transmit that energy to your children, that desire to your children. Because this is the night when the miracles happen. This is the night where we break free. Are you ready? Happy Passover.